All right, welcome everyone. For those that don't know, my name's Mandy Reinig. I am the director of the Study Away program here at Virginia Wesleyan University. And today we're starting our series on virtual international summer internships. And I'm very happy to have Brooke with us from Global Experiences. And she's going to be talking with us about what they offer. So, Brooke, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Mandy. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. So I definitely have a lot to share with you guys about our internship program. I have a little presentation, so I can share that with you now. But just a little bit about me. My name is Brooke. I am an admissions counselor at Global Experiences. And I basically work with students on the front end. So I help them with their applications, help them through the admissions process, ultimately try to get them accepted into the program. And I've been working with Global Experiences for about 2 years now, and loving it. So happy to be here. Some of the topics that we're going to cover today are, first and foremost, why is an international internship valuable? We do have in-person as well as virtual programs. So regardless, it would still be considered an international internship. You would still be interning with an international employer and really gaining that work experience. We'll also talk a little bit about how our program specifically works, and I'll save time for questions, but we can just kick things off. So I always like to say that when thinking about the value of an international internship, especially if you're comparing it to a study abroad program or more of an academic program, it really is the best of both worlds. You get that cultural experience, and you go through personal growth, but you also have a professional experience at the same time. So it's a really nice way to make the most of your time. And even if you're doing a virtual internship, you still gain a ton of skills. You get to see what a work environment is like abroad. You could potentially gain language skills if you're working with an international employer, and the main language isn't English. You can improve your digital literacy skills. So really, it's a win-win whether you intern with an international employer from home or actually go abroad for the experience. And so we have a number of locations that we offer programs in. So you can see the full list here. We also have virtual mentioned, the bottom right-hand corner there. And so if you do an in-person program, you would go to one of these locations. If you do a virtual program, you have the ability to be matched with an employer from any of these locations. So it really broadens the scope of what you can do in your internship and, how many employer matches you can get. If an intern who's doing a virtual internship does have a preference, like let's say they would really like to intern with an Irish employer or a German employer, that's something that we take into account. So we would start presenting you for those employers first, and then we would only expand that if we needed kind of more variety in terms of placing you. And then as far as what you can do for your internship, we have a ton of variety as well. We have over 40 career fields that you can choose from. So no matter what your major is, we probably have a career field that matches. So I have broken down the fields into general sections that you can see here. So business, creative industries, STEM, communications, social impact. Anything from marketing to finance to psychology. We have a lot of fields that you can apply for. And depending on your level in school and how much academic and professional experience you have related to that field, that would determine whether you are a good candidate for it and whether we could accept you for that field. but that is something that you would work with me or another admissions counselor on the front end. So we would help you figure out what fields are best for you. And I did just want to highlight a few intern spotlights here, just to give you a quick understanding of what an internship might look like. So both of these are possible in person and virtually. We also have a ton of internship examples on our website too. So if you're ever curious, you can hop on the website and really look through individual career fields to see some internship examples. But this one is Cheyenne, who was a student at George Mason. She actually just graduated. She did a business and marketing internship with an affiliate marketing company. So she mainly helped create content for their website, for their social media pages. She also helped with SEO. So it was pretty marketing focused, and we matched her up based on her individual interests within the field. And then here is a second spotlight. So this is Kelsey from Salisbury University. She did an internship with a women's support organization. So basically just helping women in Dublin with a number of different things that they might need assistance with, whether it was education or childcare, or even advocacy work. So she had more of a background in psychology, and she worked with a nonprofit that, definitely had aspects of that involved in the placement. And then, so our application and admission process is really simple. It's really straightforward. You basically submit your application online. It's just a 2-part application, really quick. And you would be matched with an admissions counselor like myself, who would walk you through the admissions process. So we would set up a phone call. We would learn more about what you're interested in, what your background is, anything that relates to the fields that you're applying for. And then if you are accepted, you're guaranteed an internship in your fields. So if you're applying to business and marketing, for example, and you're accepted, you are guaranteed an internship within that. After that, you would enroll to confirm your spot on the program. So if you're doing an in-person program, you enroll with a deposit. If you're doing a virtual program, you enroll with the full program tuition. But at that point, you're on board and we start working with you. So this is a helpful graphic that just explains our process in a little more detail. So as I mentioned, you're first accepted, then you enroll, and you work with our staff on some professional development. So you'll work with your program advisor really closely. You'll work with a career coach. You'll do a strengths assessment, document review, things like that. And once you're ready, we will start matching you up and presenting you to employers based on your interests. So let's say we present you for a certain number of opportunities, and an employer gets back to us and it seems like it's going to be a really good match and they do want to interview you. We would set up that interview. We would talk you through the process. You would get to do research about the opportunity. We would also do interview prep, and then you actually interview to confirm your final placement. So we help you through every step of the process. And after applying to Global Experiences, you don't have to apply to individual internships. And then a little bit about what's included in the program. So for the virtual program, it very much still is a program and has that program feel. It's not that once you start your internship, you never hear from us again. We're still very involved through the process. So all of the support from our staff, of course, is included. All of the professional development. We also do activities throughout the virtual program. So we'll do a welcome orientation. We'll do check-ins with you. Even social and professional events throughout the program. So for example, this past summer on our virtual program, we did a career panel with some employers, which was really cool. just for interns to get a sense of what other industries might be like and to hear from successful leaders in those fields. We also did a Q&A with our CEO, so they really got to pick her brain and learn more about her entrepreneurial background. So all of that is included in the virtual program. We also have like tutorials and webinars and things like that to help get you prepared, especially if you haven't worked remotely before. And then for our in-person program, very similar. I mean, the staff assistance, the professional development, all of that is still included. And then we also have on-site inclusions as well. So your housing, your insurance, your local support staff. We do social events and day trips. So it's very similar to a study abroad program in that sense. And then what's not included is your flight and your food, although the housing for the in-person programs does have kitchens. So a lot of interns will do a mix of eating out and eating at home. Most of our locations don't require visas, but if they do, the visa fees would be additional, and we would help you through the entire process of securing that visa. And I did want to mention just a little bit about credit. So credit is not built into our program automatically because not everyone needs it, but it is certainly something that you can select if it's helpful for you. So basically when people want credit, they will either get credit through us and our school of record, which is Fairfield University. I've listed the courses below, so you can just get a sense of what they look like, and then transfer that credit back to their home institution. Or sometimes their home institution will actually have a course that they can take instead that our program will satisfy. So both of those options are usually available. But if you are interested in learning more about credit, I would say definitely talk with your study abroad office and your academic advisor to see what's going to work best for you. And just to give you a sense of what the tuition looks like for, this is for our 8-week summer program. If you ever are curious to see the most up-to-date pricing, in case this changes, I would encourage you to go to our website. But this has been pretty standard for the past few years, so we're not expecting it to change too much. But you can see that for an 8-week summer session, the tuition ranges between $5,000 and $8,000, just depending on location. And then for our virtual program, we have a little more flexibility just because it is virtual. So per session, we usually have at least 3 start dates. So you can see here the spring start dates versus the summer start dates. We also have fall as well. And then an 8-week program with GEV is $1,500 and a 12-week program is $1,800. So you also have the flexibility in deciding whether you'd like to do an 8-week program or a 12-week, just depending on how much work experience you want and whether you have an hours requirement for getting credit. I also wanted to talk a little bit about financial aid. I know students always have questions about this. So for our in-person programs, we do offer scholarships that are typically between $500 and $1,500. If you are a Pell Grant or a Gilman recipient, you would automatically get additional funding from us. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. We also have a long list of external resources that we recommend looking into. So the Fund for Education Abroad, for example, the Gilman Scholarship, these are all really, really good external scholarships to apply for. We have a lot more than this, but these are 2 of like the big ones that we recommend. And if you get any kind of external aid, we're always happy to accept that. All right, so that brings us to the end of the presentation today. I have put my email address at the bottom there. So if you guys ever have questions or want to learn more, I'm always happy to hop on the phone and do an info session. Also, our website is just globalexperiences.com. If you're curious, you can just browse the website. We have a ton of information on there, a ton of resources. And if you do want to submit your application, it's all done through the website.
Brooke, I do have a couple questions for you.
Oh, sure. Go for it.
Yeah, with the tuition for the virtual program, does that include tuition?
So if you're getting
For the
credit,
courses, the credits, yes,
good
sorry.
question. It does not. So if you're getting credit through Global Experiences, it's just $600 per course. So you can get a minimum of 3 credits, maximum of 12 per session. And it's 600 per course, doesn't matter what the course is. So just depending on how much credit a student needed. I mean, most people, at least for this past summer, they just opted into one course. So it was like 1,500 plus 600 for the credit. That would be different if someone was getting credit directly through their university. Then, of course, they would be, subject to those tuition rates.
Sure, of course. And are students eligible for scholarships if they're doing the virtual option?
They are, yeah. So for our larger scholarships, the ones that I mentioned, the 15 or the 500 to 1,500, those are not available for virtual, just because that's like the full program fee. But if you're a Pell Grant recipient or a Gilman recipient, whether you're doing a virtual program or in person, you would have automatic discounts from us. And then, of course, if you got any other kind of financial aid, like from your university or from an external resource, we would be happy to apply that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. That was super informative. So thank you very much. I think, as Katie said, I think you kind of covered all of it.
Not a problem. I know it's a lot of information. So, I mean, if students ever have questions, sometimes it's easier just to hop on the phone one-on-one and kind of hear what their individual situation is. So I'm always happy to do that.
Yeah, and the placements tend to be pretty kind of personalized and customized, correct?
They do. Yep. So I always like to say that we could have 5 interns doing business internships, and their internships might look totally different from each other because they all have individual interests within that. So, maybe someone is really interested in working with like data and research. Maybe someone wants a match with a very entrepreneurial company. Maybe someone wants to do operations and events. I mean, we always try to go off of what each intern wants and present them according to that.
Great. And if someone had language abilities like Spanish, because that tends to be the most common one, are you able to place them in a situation for virtual where they might be able to use those language skills?
Yeah, so it's not something that we 100% guarantee, just because, interns do have to be invited to interview, but that is a huge help. I mean, if they have advanced or fluent skills in a language and they want to do their internship in that language, as long as we have an employer that also speaks that language. So, it would be French, Spanish, or Italian. Or German, then we would try very hard to match them in that language.
Great. Because that does come up on occasion. I know we had one this past summer.
Yeah, for sure. We had 1 or 2 as well. And I mean, it's important to have a strong skill set in that language, especially if you're doing a virtual internship. But if students have that language and they want to improve it, I think it's an amazing opportunity.
Thank you so much. And as Brooke, you saw, Brooke had her email on there, and we have the website there. So if anybody has questions for Brooke, I know she'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Yes.
So thank you again so much for joining us today, and hopefully we get some interested students. And so we will see you next time.